So Zachary Poll is the innovation ecosystem principal for VSP Global. They're the world's largest insurer for eye care with 90 million members. Previously, he led healthcare business development for Plug and Play Ventures, a healthcare program. They're one of the most active healthcare venture capital firms in the entire world. He partnered with over 30 healthcare companies, including BARDA and many other health systems, pharma, and payers as well. So there's a lot of expertise both on the insurance side as well as pharma and also providers. And I'll pass it over to Zach now to share a little bit about his insights on how to partner with a multi-billion-dollar company.
Thank you, Ash. It's fantastic to be here. Quick note for everybody, Ash and I work together at Plug and Play. So I find it pretty funny that Ash is like reading the notes, and Ash was there to make some of those partnerships happen. And Ash was fantastic to work with there. So Ash and Victoria, what I'm going to do is I have a couple of slides prepared. I'm now going to share my screen. So Ash is correct, just in terms of where I work. Currently, I'm at VSP in our Global Innovation Center, where I recently came on to be our innovation ecosystem principal and really own our entire ecosystem, whether it's startups, venture capitalists, other corporate venture capital firms, other innovation teams, and startups to really be able to push healthcare forward. And what I'm going to be speaking about, and really what I want you to be able to understand and get out of this talk, is we see so many startups come to us because of the nature of our work. And not only am I one of those front lines for that, but I was also one of those front lines at Plug and Play. And like Ash mentioned, is a Silicon Valley venture capital firm. It's the most active digital healthcare investment firm in the world. We've made like 85 investments to date and over 1,400 in total. So many startups are coming to us. And so what I want to talk about, what I really want to instill for you and what I think is so valuable is what multi-billion-dollar international companies are hoping for when being pitched, because I've been able to be on the side of now sitting for the multi-billion-dollar organization, really kind of identifying what we're looking for, also from a venture capitalist seat, and then also from the startup side, because I myself ran a startup and was part of an accelerator. And so being able to see all those different perspectives, one thing that's so hard is to understand the different perspective and the different nuances that a multi-billion-dollar organization is looking for that a venture capitalist really isn't. So I really want to be able to help you have your best pitch possible, specifically for very large organizations, because there's definitely some key differences that we're looking for that a venture capitalist isn't. And then I'm just going to blow through this. You already know about me because Ash gave the good intro for me. I actually think he read off of this, to be transparent. And then here's some of the talks that I gave just kind of during 2020. Most of it is based off of Silicon Valley's response to the pandemic. I gave out the awards for the UCSF Digital Health Awards. I've written a couple articles for Entrepreneur Magazine. I was a judge for MIT's hackathons last year. You'll see me on the Fox Business in the bottom left. And then right above that, I moderated a panel with the Pfizer team as part of Plug and Play's demo day. And they were able to give it. And that was kind of just as Pfizer was getting clearance for their vaccines. They were able to give an update for the vaccine. So that was fantastic. So here's really the meat of it. And you're going to notice I only have a couple of slides, but it's going to be very simple, very digestible, but only a couple of things are really important to instill. So here's our perspective. Okay. We do $7 billion in annual revenue, have 90 million members and 40,000 network doctors. You'll see our brands below that. And one misconception, I'm going to start right here, is people think multi-billion-dollar organization like VSP, they think of insurance, right? Well, any multi-billion-dollar organization has so many needs outside of their primary line of business. I mean, VSP, our insurance does make up by far most of our revenue. I think it makes up about $6 billion out of our $7.3 billion. But we have, first thing, that's another $1 billion that we have between Marshawn and Ifinity and Visionworks. We own all of Visionworks. We have about 700 physical stores throughout the US. But one misconception is they think Nike or VSP, they only think of that line of business, insurance or products. Whenever it's a company this large, there's such a variety of different issues that they have, from HR to supply chain to data integration and data integrity. We're actually writing a report right now on the future of omnichannel presence. So never get pigeonholed into thinking that what you think that company's primary business is where your solution needs to be plugged into. All of these companies have so many different lines of business, so many different business needs that are applicable across different industries. So that's the first thing. And frankly, that's a white space for you, because most startups are going in with a pitch around that primary line of business. And therefore, they're under pitched on what their other needs are. So whenever you think to yourself, it's not a perfect fit for their primary line of business, almost think to yourself, that's a white space. Too many people come to us with just another eyeglass, another piece of glasses or whatever. And rarely do they come to us with opportunities for us to generate revenue from all the fantastic data that we're gathering. So really kind of understanding what are the needs of such a large business, and then just using their primary line of business as part of that is really what you need to be thinking of first. Now, at the Global Innovation Center, one thing that we're so focused on is these three things right here. We want to be able to bring outside shifts into VSP's line of sight for innovation opportunities, drive a structured approach to achieve results for the future of vision, and build innovation partnerships, connecting ideas and teams within VSP. The main reason that I bring this up is this is a pretty standard template for what innovation teams of other multi-billion-dollar companies are looking at. So we are actively looking. We want people to be reaching out. Please reach out to us. Please follow up with us. Whenever you see that a large company has an innovation team, that means that there's C-suite decisions, buy-in, and investment to partner with startups. We want to say, yes, it is part of our job. We will get fired if we don't find companies to pilot with and start with. So please reach out. It is the most important thing. Now, I'm going to start with 4 things here for what is important to pitch. Traction. When you're a large company like us, we are going to have serious pushback working with a very small company. Maybe you don't have your large B2B customer yet. Maybe you just have some seed funding. Maybe you don't have the FDA clearances or the 510K exemptions that you need yet. We're always wondering about this. This is our first thing. We really want to know that you are trusted by other large companies. It helps us de-risk, helps us think a lot more of you. So the first thing in our mind when we're being pitched is, what is their traction? And if you can show good traction, that's going to make everything way easier. Frankly, I put this number 1. There's nothing more important during your pitch than to be able to show your impressive traction. Also important things to show, really important things, honestly, to show if you don't have large B2B customers or something like that is, how much do your customers love you? What are your usage rates? What are your average contract size? One of my main questions for mental health startups whenever they pitch me, let's just say it's a telehealth platform for connecting therapists to patients. I don't want to know, it's nice to know how many downloads you have. That's great. How many people are still using the platform 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? What is your usage rate? Any kind of traction, impressive traction numbers that you can show, that is the most important thing to be able to show. The second is the therapeutic benefit. The therapeutic benefit is, it's really important for us to be able to see that this actually makes a difference and that it's not just a gimmick. You'll notice that I just have some text from a different presentation about accelerators. I was talking about how accelerators work, but really be able to show your therapeutic benefit. How much are patients getting better? Your customers having a better experience with yours, or they're increasing their average order volume, things like that. The third, this is a really interesting one, and this is one that's really specific to large corporations as opposed to venture capitalists. We don't care. A large company doesn't care that much about a financial exit. A large company doesn't care that much about the ROI potential. What we're trying to learn is, can you solve a problem within the company? So our process is we end up talking across all the different business units. And at VSP, that's Marshawn, that's our insurance, that's Visionworks. At Nike, that's going to be shoes to t-shirts to shorts. At Target, all the host of different business lines that they have. So we're talking to them, figuring out their problems, and then we're going out into the market to try and find startups and technologies that can solve that problem. And the best way that I've seen this utilized is when a company just has a slide dedicated to say, here's where we can fit into your specific business units with a potential solution for some of the problems that you're having. The easier you can make it for us to see that you can solve a problem that one of our business units is having, by far the more success you're going to have. Just so that you understand our incentives, one of the challenges of an innovation team at any large organization is to really be able to show tangible value and ROI for working with the innovation team. I don't care if that's us, VSP, or J&J, or AstraZeneca, or Pfizer. That's always one of those main challenges. And if you're able to make it very clear here, but that's also one of the most important things to our job, is being able to do that. So whenever you can say, hey, we can make it really easy for your supply chain to be able to be more agile to more individualized products, or make it easier for returns, which is a huge problem for VSP, you're providing a ton of value for us. And then you're making us, the innovation team, look good when we go to the business unit. So whenever you can make it really clear that you can provide value and solve a problem that one of the business units is having, that's a huge value add for the innovation team at these large companies. The fourth, and this is more of a reminder, present yourself well. It still shocks me how many people don't present themselves well. There's not, if you don't know how your slides work, that's not a good thing. If you have a glitchy internet connection and you're doing that stuff, it always is going to look bad. For an example, we hosted this innovation showcase in March where we had 6 startups present to us, and we had 30 people, all presidents of all of our product lines, in the meeting at once, and about half of our VPs. And they were glitchy. They were struggling with their slides and how to work them, things like that. So, I say it. I think all of you are probably saying, yeah, of course. I guarantee you 1 or 2 of you, just by the stats, is going to have an issue for that when you do your pitch. So really make sure that you've done a full practice run beforehand to make sure that there's no issues. And the take-home message is to make us think your company is validated to be extremely good at solving a problem of ours. If you can make us walk away thinking that one sentence is true, you're going to get that second meeting. You're going to get that third meeting. That is by far the most important thing to do. All of these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, are just ways to be able to make people think that. This is the next slide here. Do not do. And I really tried to make this non-obvious things here. So the first one is spend more than 2 minutes on the problem. That's more important for a venture capitalist or an investor. We know our problems. We know the size. We also don't care that much about the whole overall market ecosystem problem. We care about, we're taking this meeting to solely look at solving our problems as a company, right? So don't come to us saying, here's the big market problem that if we solve, it's gonna result in us being $1 billion company. We don't really, large companies don't really care about that. We're looking for solutions that solve our company's problems and only that. The second is get to your solution and traction too late. It happens all the time where we don't know what the solution is 10, 15 minutes in. We also don't know whether we should be treating this as a serious company until the very end and seeing the traction that you have. And without that kind of context, everything else that comes before that, it all gets lost. And so one thing that you really need to be able to do, frankly, is I would say be able to show your traction and your solution within the first 3 minutes. I think that's a really good rule. That's going to make everything else that you're talking about it's going to help provide everything in context. You're going to see more engagement, things of that nature. So I would get to your solution and traction within the first 3 minutes of your presentation. Really, so you'll notice part of that is really kind of skipping over that problem or just touching on it real quick. That's exclusive to a large company like ours. The third one is going into the financials, right? This is not an investor pitch. So we're not looking for the ROI on investment dollars. So whenever you're spending time here, you're spending time away from talking about how you can solve the large company's problems. That's really where you need to be focused on. And that fourth is waiting for the follow-up. I think a lot of startups, whenever they pitch to us, maybe we'll get one follow-up and then that's it. As part of our process, we are taking an intake of the companies, and then it might be for an acute need right now, but then we also might be market mapping for 3 months from now when budget opens up or when a different business unit's budget opens up for us to be able to tap into our network like this. So, for example, actually just this morning, we were talking about a project that we killed 2 years ago, and now we're talking about now's the right time to engage. One of our mandates as an innovation team is be able to have this collection of 100 startups that we know intimately well, and then go to our business units, figure out their problems, and then be able to say, oh, we know, go into our database, there's companies like that, and then follow up. I think a lot of startups think if they're interested, they're definitely going to reach out next. And then if they're not interested, then they're always not going to be interested. So making sure that you're following up on a monthly cadence helps keep you top of mind for that time when we find out that one of our business units has a problem that your company can solve for. So really important to be able to be following up, because frankly, most of the times when we're meeting with the company, it's to be able to have you in our database so that when we can find that problem that you can solve for, we can reach out to you. So staying top of mind is really important. Make sure that you're following up in a monthly cadence and know that it's most of the time, it's not we don't like this company and don't want to partner with this company forever. It's frankly just a timing thing. And so when that timing hits, that timing's going to hit. That's it. I just wanted to instill those things, keep it short, really important things to keep in mind, and to be able to understand some of the nuances for what a large corporation is looking for as opposed to an investor. Because I think too many times startups are tailoring their decks for investors and thinking that's a good deck for everybody. When frankly, there's quite some large differences in terms of what we're looking for as opposed to investors. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Zach. So many valuable insights that our founders can take and implement tomorrow, right? So actionable. The mind of a corporate innovation team does differ from what a traditional VC thinks about or looks for in a pitch. So to start it off, I have one question. It looks like actually PathGen Diagnostics has a question. So PathGen, if you could stop mute and just ask Zach your question directly.
Hi, Zach. I'm Santi from Pakjen. We are in Indonesia. So it's very interesting, and I'm quite intrigued actually. How could we identify the problem of the big company? Like, is there any? Yeah, we can do like online search and things like that, or is there any way to engage early before a pitch, for example? Or yeah, what is your tips on that? And yeah, I think that's for now. I'll come back later.
You're fine. So I think the best way to really understand a company's problems is to be able to look on their website to find all the different lines of business that they have, and then also be able to look on LinkedIn to see the different titles that people have on there as well, because you'll find a lot of the non-consumer facing things actually in their LinkedIn titles, right? How many times are you going to see data integration as something that they're working on? If you're just looking on their website, right, you're not. But what you're going to do is you're going to find that in the titles of people who work there on LinkedIn. So when you're on LinkedIn, if you have Sales Navigator, use Sales Navigator, go to the decision makers, and then look at their titles. That's going to give you a fantastic window into all of the different types of operations that this specific company is doing. And then based off of those, you should then be able to have a good idea for what problems they might have that your company has a solution for.
Can I have a little bit of follow-up question, please? So let's say you like the pitch, and what kind of partnership usually happening between big and startup?
Yeah, good question. So when we're talking about a large company like ours, there's a couple of different ones. When we bought Visionworks, I think it was a multi-billion dollar acquisition, and we just took all of them, and now we own all of the stores. But let's give the average example for an innovation team. I'm going to talk specifically about an innovation team at a large company. And what that typically looks like is a small scale pilot. And so let's say it's VSP. VSP owns all the Visionworks, like I mentioned, which has 700 stores. Let's say, to give a specific example, you're looking at a new line of eyewear. What we're going to start with is take 6 of our stores that we've identified as our most innovative stores where we have good demographics to test out new products. We're going to do a paid pilot with you that's going to last for probably around 3 to 6 months. After it took about 9 months for us to say from initial meeting to getting it going, we will then have a pilot for 3 to 6 months where we're paying you to be able to figure out, is this something that our company thinks is valuable? How can we iterate it? How can we make it better? Should we kill the project? And then we'll have a post from there to either kill it or be able to scale in the right way. But when we're talking about a large company, we're never going to do a whole enterprise rollout. We're always going to start with a small test. Good question.
Yeah, thank you.
Joe.
A question I had is, this is something that Sadi from Patchen also asked, but what is your first filter process? I mean, you see thousands of startups. What's the actual criteria you're using to measure which startup makes it to that POC stage?
Yeah, so I actually use what we learned at Plug and Play. There's technology, traction, and team. The most important thing is traction. I want to know that this is something valuable, whether it's customers buying it, customers raving about it, huge usage, that you have large B2B customers. Those are the most important things, number one. Number two, technology. I want to see that the technology is something that we've identified as a problem of ours. That our business units are saying this is something important, or maybe we're saying this is something that could be a potential solution for us in the future. And then the third one is team. That those two are really important. Team is less important, but just to see that they're impressive people that can hold themselves in a room. One thing that an innovation team is really cognizant of is when we bring a company where the founders don't present themselves well, that reflects poorly on us. So we're always trying to make sure that the people themselves are also people that we want to be able to introduce to other people. But keep in mind, the traction and technology are by far the most important things for that first pass.
That's super helpful. So, Zach, what are some trends you're most excited about for the coming years?
Well, for large companies like ours, let's put it that way, the two trends that we're really focused on is being able to go from an insurance role, go from a reactive way to be able to provide care to a proactive way to be able to provide care. I'm actually just going to say that's our number one thing. That's the huge umbrella. We want to be able to proactively say, hey, now's the time for you to be getting your eyes checked. We want to be proactive in saying, here's more benefits that you can be getting from us. Here's some exclusive discounts you can get. Hey, your local optometrist actually has some availability coming up. Do you want to schedule an appointment? We want to be proactive about being able to provide services outside of just vision. But we're focused on all of healthcare. We see the eye as a window into your overall health. So being proactive and being able to say, you know what, your optometrist can actually check you for mental health and depression, glaucoma, and type 2 diabetes and Alzheimer's. We want to be able to go from a reactive type of company to one that's proactive, where people are really gain a ton of value in terms of their healthcare and their experience with healthcare because they're insured through us.
No, that's really insightful. You're not just an insurance company. Now you're really the whole value chain, being proactive, even at the provider level and the supply chain level. And I'm sure a lot of our finalist startups can fit into that big picture as well. Well, thank you so much, Zach, for taking time out of your afternoon. This has been so actionable for our finalists. So many great pieces of advice on how to improve their pitch and kind of resonate with corporate innovation teams. Really glad to have you on board, and excited for your session tomorrow as well.
Thank you. If I can just get one more minute, like I mentioned, one thing that's so important for us, we have a huge amount of needs at VSP. There's a lot of incredible startups on there. I'm going to put my email in the chat. We'd love to be able to start dialogue with all of you. We might not have an acute need now, but we are literally having a database of fantastic companies that we want to be able to reach out to. And so, if we can have meetings, start forming that relationship, I'd really like to have that. So, for anybody who wants to be able to work with us or keep us in mind, there's my email, zachary.poll@vsp.com. We are actively looking for companies that we want to work with now or in the future. So please reach out. Also, ask Victoria. It's a pleasure. And I'm also looking forward to the talk tomorrow. I think it's going to be fantastic.